What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm going to be ranking the 10 Best Picture nominees for the 2023 Oscars. This is all going to be my opinion, so if you don't like that, that's fine. I can respect your opinion. Let's get right into it with number 10. Alright, at number 10, I'm going to have Tar, because, I don't know, something about Tar just did not resonate with me at all. I went into it with an open mind, but I just didn't really come out liking it as much as I wanted to. I really do think that Cate Blanchett's performance, though, is the what, if not the best performance of the year, the second best performance of the year in my opinion. Her performance here is outstanding. I did like the cinematography of the film also. I think the script is alright in my opinion, but I think the pacing is just not good. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and I really felt slogged down by the third act, but I did actually enjoy the first 30 minutes of the film. But overall, Tar was just a forgettable experience for me, and that's going to be 10th place. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 for me is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front, which I actually hope wins Best International Film, because this movie packs a big punch. It was a phenomenal experience. It came out on Netflix. I wish I could have saw it in theaters like some other people, but this movie really had me captivated with what was going on in the battles in this movie. The dialogue was really engaging. I felt like every performance was really outstanding to witness. I felt like there was a lot of effects that were used that actually were pretty subtle, but I could notice them a lot. I wanted to go back to this movie, but it's actually a pretty hard watch in my opinion with everything that's going on in the film. But the first watch that I had, I was really blown away by what they are able to do with this movie. So All Quiet on the Western Front is number 9 on the Best Picture rankings for me. Let's get into number 8. Number 8 is going to be Women Talking, directed by Sarah Polley. This was actually the last Best Picture nominated film that I watched, because it wasn't really available in theaters until late for me. But it's actually a pretty hard movie to watch in my opinion, because it centers around the novel Women Talking, which is about the secret meetings of 8 Mennonite women on behalf of the other women in the colony must decide how to react to the traumatic events of what's going on in their community. And this was a hard watch, just like All Quiet on the Western Front. This was a hard watch because of the subject matter of what's going on in this film and today, because this film actually takes events that actually did happen in the 2010s and probably are still happening now. It's a very hard film to watch, but I was delightfully engaged this whole film because of the script. I think the script is its best aspect, and I think it works on so many different levels. I think that this should win adapted screenplay in my opinion, because it's that impressive and that captivating. You just want to keep watching the screen for the whole hour and a half. You never want to look away really, because it has a lot to say. And I think the performances also help capture what the film is trying to say, because the performances blew me away. I was mesmerized watching it. I didn't want to look away because I felt like the performances in the script just captivated me so much. But Women Talking is number 8. Let's get into number 7. Alright, number 7 on the Best Picture rankings, it's going to be Triangle of Sadness for me. This is directed by Ruben Östlund, and I was delightfully surprised when I watched this movie. It basically centers around Carl and Yaya, who are invited on a luxury cruise full of other rich passengers, and all at first seems well, but then once you get to that middle part of the movie, and then the third act, all goes off the walls. I mean, off the walls in so many different ways. I can't believe this movie pulled as many tricks and funny gags as it did, but this movie is hilarious in my opinion. Sometimes it's really hard to watch for me because it takes place on a cruise, and you actually have the camera shaking sometimes because the cruise ship is shaking with the waves, and I have a hard time actually with that. So it was a hard watch at some points, but I really did think this movie is pretty great. I want to rewatch it again. Right now I have it at 4 out of 5. I could think it could even go up because the script is actually pretty engaging here. The performances are awesome. The whole third act is just, it's insane. If you like The Menu, you'd love this film. even more. I have this film at number 7 on the Best Picture rankings. Let's get into number 6. Number 6 on my ranking is going to be Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann. I remember seeing this movie last summer. Oh my, what an experience this movie was. Baz Luhrmann just has such a unique way to bring his films to life. I know a lot of people don't like his editing techniques or his stylistic approach, but I really have fun with it. It's kind of like a whole experience to the movie, I think. I love the story here, even though it's kind of not telling the whole story of who Elvis is and what he did. It's kind of like a fictitious story in some ways, but it basically just tells the life of Elvis Presley through his complicated relationship with Colonel Tom Parker, who's played by Tom Hanks. Elvis is played by Austin Butler, who is just amazing in this movie. Top 3 performance of 2022. I loved watching this movie in the theater because the sound of Elvis's music was just so awesome to hear in a theater. I've now gotten back into Elvis and listening to his music every so often. His songs just are amazing, and I think Baz Luhrmann really did have a good sense for who Elvis was and how his performances captivated the audience, and this did that for me. I really did love enjoying this in the theater. I think I've seen it 3 or 4 times. It's very rewatchable, but there are some flaws, but I did think it was great. So Elvis is my number 6 on my Best Picture ranking. Let's get to number 5. Alright, number 5 on my Best Picture rankings is going to be Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. Pretty much a semi-biography of his life, autobiography. It's kind of a fun, it's not really a fun film to watch, but it kind of fills you with the joy of being a filmmaker and growing up as a filmmaker like Steven Spielberg did, but he did have those problems in his past with how his parents ended up divorced and had issues, but I really did enjoy watching this in the theater. I saw this with my parents. It was a delightful time. I've seen it about 2 or 3 times now. I really do think there's a lot of flavor in this movie. The production design is great. It's a subtle score by John Williams, but I did enjoy that score by him. Cinematography is also really good, but it's not any of the best work I've seen by Steven Spielberg. His West Side Story from last year and this can go hand in hand as both 4.5 out of 5 films for me. I did have The Fabelmans at a 5 out of 5 for once, but I think I had to lower it down to a 4.5 because there are a little bit of pacing issues in that second half. But I think the first act of this movie and this part of the second act is just perfect Spielberg in my opinion. And it was really awesome to see parts of his life come true on the screen. The Fabelmans is number 5. Let's get into number 4. Number 4 on the Best Picture rankings is going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is such a magical film. The title is even so magical by itself. It's by the Daniels, who also did Swiss Army Man, which I first watched a couple months ago. I think that film is also amazing. But this film is just, it's crazy good, but it's crazy weird at the same time. Like, no one was ever ready for what this film was going to be and how it is. But I feel like that's what makes it better and more easily accessible to the main audience, because if this film was like Tar, it wouldn't be very accessible to the main audiences. But I think Michelle Yeoh really brings this film together, and I think she should win the Oscar for Best Actress for this film because she blew me away with this film. But I feel like the Daniels really did elevate it though with their script here. The script was amazing. The visual effects were amazing, even though there's a little amount of visual effects workers did work on this film, but it's like a spectacle almost. Even though it's like pretty low budget, this is kind of a spectacle to be witnessed in the theaters. I saw this in the theaters and it was a fun time. That's all I gotta say. It's a fun time. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. I've seen it 3 times. I want to watch it again before the Oscars, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is number 4 for me. Let's get into number 3. Number 3 is going to be Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski. I've grown to really like how Joseph Kosinski approaches his action films, and this movie is no different. He knocked it out of the park with this here. I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times. It's really just an experience to witness here. It's a spectacle. To even watch at home is really great. It really brought back the love for Top Gun because I watched the first Top Gun. I did like it, but I didn't love it, but I love Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise proves why he is the action star he is today. He is probably the #1 or #2 movie star today just because of this and Mission Impossible. He can do it all. I really do love him here, and I feel like after he's done with the action movies, he could do a great job just as a drama actor and a character actor. He could get some Oscars after he's done with the action films, but I think he's doing great with these action films. Top Gun Maverick, some of the best cinematography of the year. It got snubbed in that category at the Oscars. The editing here is so cool. It feels like I'm in the cockpit. I'm actually flying around. It's really amazing to witness, and the runtime flies by. You can't even like look out, and then you're done with the film. I feel like the third act is also really fun. I witnessed this in IMAX. It's just so engaging, so captivating to see on the big screen. Top Gun Maverick is my #3 on the rankings. Let's get to #2. Alright, #2, Best Picture rankings. I might get hate for this, but it's going to be Avatar: The Way of Water. What an experience. What an experience to see in theaters. I saw this movie 5 times in the theaters. I haven't been that, like, glued to the screen. My eyeballs are bursting out of my head. I haven't been like that since I saw maybe Avengers Endgame. Because this movie's visual effects and the way it's done is crazy. Crazy, out of this world. We thought that he couldn't capture the magic he did with Avatar 1 13 years ago. James Cameron did it. He's a madman. You cannot disrespect James Cameron, and you can't doubt him. He really brought this film to life, and it's 3 hours long. I watched it 5 times. It's 3 hours long. I just love being in Pandora. I wish I was friends with an avatar. I wish I was an avatar. It's just so cool what James Cameron can think of and put inside a film. And the last half is just action spectacle. Last hour, action spectacle. I really did also love the score here. This is, of course, going to get an Oscar for visual effects. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what's wrong with the Oscars. But I feel like this film is just really a love letter to cinema and what James Cameron can do with the camera, visual effects, motion capture. Really did love the film. It's going to be #2 on the rankings. Let's get to #1. Alright, #1 on my Best Picture rankings of the year is going to be The Banshees of Inisherin, directed by Martin McDonagh. Martin McDonagh is a person that I just got into last year. I watched In Bruges, 3 Billboards. I really did love those movies. I loved In Bruges. I love 3 Billboards a little bit more than In Bruges, but I think Banshees tops it for him. I think this is his best film to date. He's probably going to make even better films than this. But let's talk about Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell in this movie is my favorite performance last year. His performance here is just so engaging, so loving to his character. I really felt connected to his character in a way with this movie that I didn't feel like connected to any other characters of last year. And I think Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, Barry Condon are awesome supporting characters here. They help provide for Colin Farrell to give him an even better performance. I hope Colin Farrell does win for Best Actor here, but it's such a hard race at this point. He might not, but I feel like his performance here is just out of this world. And the script here, written by Martin McDonagh, is just my favorite script of last year also. This movie really made me bawl my eyes out at some specific points. I'm not going to spoil it because I think you should all go see it, but this movie, just my favorite movie of last year. It really knocked it out of the park when I saw it. I wasn't expecting a lot, but I was blown away. So Banshees of Inisherin is my #1 on the Best Picture rankings of 2023. Leave yours down below in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on my list. I want to hear your list. But with that down the way, I'm going to be doing my best Oscars final predictions in a couple weeks. So I'll see you guys there, but stay tuned for other content from my channel. See you guys later.